So, with the recommendation from our friend Fragrance Matt, look what I now have. Yeah, I got it. You got to know when to hold him. This is actually released in 1983, which is 5 years after the release of Kenny Rogers the Gambler, and actually Jovan released Lady, obviously intended for the ladies. I don't know very much about it, but so far I'm digging it. So yeah, I picked it up. You got to know when to walk away and know when to run. You never count your money. I really should be counting my money because I'm spending way too much on fragrances. So, for this installment of Effluvium, we have very special guest Joseph Quartana. He runs Quartana Parfums and SIXSCENTS. He will be telling us about his vision for perfumery, his business, his lines, and we'll be picking his brain on a number of different things that are of interest to us about these beautiful fragrances, a couple of them of which I've already had the great pleasure of sampling. Ierofante, I think I pronounced that correctly, Ierofante or Ierofante, and Forest of the Golden Dream, which I have grown very fond with this sample that was just so graciously sent to me by our dear friend Rachel, which, might I add, she is waiting in the wings, but no longer. She's here with us.
Hi, JJ.
Hi.
It's so great to see you. How are you?
Great to see you too. I just want to give you a heads up. The audio, there's a bit of a distortion on your end with the audio. It just sounds a little. I don't know. I can confirm with the audience as well. If
let's see if I can fix that really quick. Sorry about that, friends. You know what? Why don't I come back in? Maybe you want to bring Joseph in, and then I'll come back in and I'll try to fix my audio. Sorry about that.
No worries. We'll see you in a bit. Well, I could do like a little, singing intermission too. You got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him, know when to walk away, know the gambler. It's pretty funny. Oh, it smells great. It actually is somewhat reminiscent of Ralph Lauren chaps. But a bit more cinnamony and spicy. We have in the chat right now Supply and Demand saying hello to us. If anybody else is, for the people who are tuned in right now, we have 8 people who are currently tuned in. Just let's do a little roll call. Just you could even say here, present, scent of the day, whatever you'd like. So right now we're going to bring in both Rachel and Joseph. And here we go. Let's get things started. Hello. Hi.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Hi, great to see you.
Yeah, Rachel. Firstly, great to see you, Rachel, because I've never actually interacted with you in this capacity. Yeah. It's always been via email or comments or something like that. So amazing to finally meet the human, if only virtually.
It's such a pleasure for me as well. Yes.
Thank you. JJ, thanks for having me.
Of course. I want to get started. As I always do with my guests, I want to learn a little bit about where your love affair with fragrance began. Where are these origins? Tell us about it.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. I think that for me, fragrance and music have always been intertwined. I just see them as the same thing. You're dealing with notes and chords and harmonies and sounds, and they both rely on visual material to kind of get their message across a bit, or have a handshake with visual material to kind of, really click. And so, and I've been, as long as I can remember, just a music head. And from when my dad used to play records when I was like 2 years old, sitting on our, in our living room in New Jersey, suburban New Jersey, and you'd be playing Donna Summer records and stuff. I remember all the disco of the era, like really clear. So that's I've always looked at perfume as harmonies that exist in this abstract way, but just not for your ears, for your nose. And that's always been my approach. And so flash forward to, I was working in nightclubs in Manhattan when I got a scholarship to NYU, and like this is like 1994. And while I was working in one of the clubs, I remember someone had walked by me wearing Angel by Thierry Mugler, it would just come out. No one had smelled a gourmand ever. Mm-hmm. And of course I loved certain perfumes, but that one just stopped me in my tracks. And I was just like, what? Like, hold up. What's that? You know, that just blew me away. And to be honest with you, ever since that moment, every single one of the perfumes I've worked on, we're almost at 40 now, 40 perfumes. I've always tried to kind of at least replicate in some sense the power, majesty, and completely new terrain, I guess, that Angel encapsulated in that, you know, because it didn't smell like anything. So I always try to go for like new scents. Hey, we have someone named Pat. Hello, Pat. Someone came on. All right. But yeah, that I think it's music pretty much. Another fragrance that really blew my mind when it came out way back when, and this is, I guess I became more conscientious of perfumes in the 90s when I was already kind of grown up. I was like 18, 19, because I did have like my awkward moments in junior high with like Polo Sport and try 100 sprays, and you just don't know because you're like awkward teenager.
Right.
So, those embarrassing moments that, you know, I prefer not to reminisce about, but hey, you know, we all make mistakes. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, yeah, the other one that blew me away was L'Eau de Say, Issey Miyake.
Oh, yeah.
Cliche at this point. I hate to say it, but just wonderful. It made my eyes go back into my skull, each of them. So those are my touch points. But another one, while we're on the subject of like 90s interesting fragrances that I really loved was Unleaded by DKNY. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a gasoline scent at the time. It was amazing. It literally smelled like gasoline. Like that was what they were going for. And my father owned an Exxon gas station. Like, so I grew up in that environment since I was a kid, not because I wanted to, because he made me go and work. And, you know, so I've always had and anyway, that kind of came, that's very, in some sense, helped to inform the formula for Ierofante. I don't want to jump ahead, but Ierofante being a gasoline fragrance, it was tied very much to DKNY's Unleaded. In some sense, nice. It's an homage because I loved it at the time. But anyway, that's your long-winded answer. I'm so sorry if it was.
No, not long-winded at all. And we encourage very thorough answers because, you know, we really want to hear what burgeons somebody's love affair with fragrance. And those are some really wonderful examples. I mean, those are iconic, most of them, you know, with the Unleaded being a little bit lesser known, but still exciting, no less. So, yeah, of course. So what brought you from being, you know, an enthusiast of fragrance, wearing it, enjoying it, maybe even collecting it, to deciding, I'd like to do more with this. I'd like to actually, you know, work in the industry or do a brand or work with perfumers. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, well, I was never a collector. I appreciated fragrance for sure. And I always had it in my wardrobe. And I had, you know, I never had a signature per se. I had a wardrobe, you know, of fragrances. So even back in the 90s, I rotated, you know, amongst certain ones and stuff, depending upon my mood and my outfit and where I'm going. And, you know, all the etiquette that should dictate what you wear with your scents and what you should wear.
Right.
These days. If it works for you, it works for you. That's all that matters.
Totally.
But I kind of fell into the fragrance world sideways because I was working in the fashion industry, actually like luxury designer fashion, for about 10 years before I started to work in fragrance. And I don't know how many of you guys are familiar at all with SIXSCENTS Parfums. That was the first brand. I co-founded it in 2008. And that was literally an extension of what I was doing in the fashion industry at the time, which was basically, I was an incubator for like very interesting artistic brands in the fashion industry, and I was the first to sell a whole bunch in the U.S. Out of my store called 7 New York in downtown Manhattan. I had that, for I guess about 13 years, something like that. I cut my teeth in that industry and learned about, like luxury this and that, and how to do presentation and concept and mood boards and the whole kit and caboodle, because I was friendly with all the designers and I would hang out with them and I studied them, and they were fascinating people. In fact, my wife is a fashion designer. I married one too. So I've always been really fascinated by people that can create something from thin air. They can literally rub their hands, be like, poof.
Right.
There's something fascinating there. My wife back in the 90s when we were like 20, she used to make me suits like that I would wear in the clubs, and they were beautiful. She'd make by hand. I mean, it'd be like, how did you do that? Like, we would go buy a roll of fabric and then she would turn it into couture. And it's like, so that sense of craft has always fascinated me. And I guess I got lost in the fashion industry for a decade there. So, but anyway, going back to SIXSCENTS and then how I segued into fragrance is that I had the opportunity to curate a fragrance series via Simrise. They had kind of approached me and my former partner at SIXSCENTS. They were like, we want to kind of do something interesting in the independent space, and do you guys have any cool ideas? And I was like, well, what if we took all of these very cutting edge fashion designers that I work with, the ones who actually drive the trends in the industry, who the bigger designers then go and copy? What if we take their work? What if we give them a chance to do a fragrance of their vision, And so in a sense, instead of waiting 10 years for these designers to become superstars or global names or whatever, we kind of steal from the future to answer that question now. And so we did fragrances for a whole bunch of, at the time they were new, but now they're kind of household names. Like Philip Lim, for example, is a huge New York-based designer. I did a fragrance for him back in our series 2.
Oh, wow.
Henrik Vibskov, who just got a culture award in Denmark. He got like knighted in Denmark for his fashion work. Kind of insane. Did a fragrance for him. Like that literally happened like 2 days ago. I was just congratulating him. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole who's who, we did like 24 different designers. And so that series was really my first sort of segue in. I curated the designers whose visions I thought were interesting enough to warrant a fragrance. And then from there, we paired the designers with these really fascinating perfumers from Simrise. I'm trying to think. Let me see who. This is a long time ago. I'm trying to think who we worked with at the time. But one of them for sure is Emily Copperman, who I won a Perfume Extraordinaire with my Coffee Soma. But I did a fragrance with her for Gareth Pugh, who's still going in London. He's fabulous. He just did Beyonce's stage costume. So anyway, I come from luxury fashion, and I have my heart is in music, and my brand brings these all together.
Just integrates them together.
Yeah, it brings them all together. So that's what I've always strived to do.
I love the integration of music and scent too, and even taking in consideration the analogs between the two, as far as composition of music and composition of fragrance, that we deal with notes, chords.
It's the same energy. Everything's vibrational, and so once you understand the scales and the harmonies,
even timbre, even texture,
wow, absolutely.
Sonic textures.
What I love about perfumery is that we can. It's like having a synthesizer, and I'm fascinated by synthesizers since I was a little boy.
Me too.
Analog synthesizers, especially the big ones with the wires all sticking out.
The Moogs and the Korgs.
Harps. They're beautiful machines. I have a few.
Have you ever listened to Mother Mallard's Masterpiece Company? They were like a group from the early 70s.
No, that sounds incredible and right up my alley. If you're going to say it's psychedelic stuff made on a
kind of like kind of psychedelic, kind of just proto ambient. They actually worked with Moog and got the newest things that he devised from the factory. Mother Mallard's Masterpiece Company. Look it up. Great stuff.
I don't know. I just don't know how I never heard of it, because
Yeah.
Mother Mallard's masterpiece.
Mallard is in Mallard Duck. Mother Mallard's masterpiece company worked directly with Moog. Got the top, like the newest technology from him, and it's just incredible stuff. So if you enjoy things like Tangerine Dream and Silver Apples and things like that,
this whole perfume was birthed out of that genre of early 70s electronics.
Well, that could
especially the pandemic. So yeah,
you know what's incredible about that, and I swear to God, I'm telling the truth. I was, when I was considering writing a review for Forest of the Golden Dream, and I as I often do in reviews, especially more so lately than ever, I incorporate music, the music that I have in mind, a particular track that comes in mind, and I was thinking of music like Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze and like. And the sort of like the new music scene of Germany and stuff.
In all of this since before the pandemic, to be honest, since about 2018, 19, I really fell. Okay, so I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I worked with Mute Records basically in 2019 for their 40th anniversary Candle. They did a box set, and the coolest thing, they dedicated the box set to 433 by John Cage, the silent composition.
Oh, nice.
Isn't that interesting? So they asked all their artists, all like 51 Mute artists, to do a cover of 433.
Yeah.
So Depeche Mode, Einstürzen Neubauten, Goldfrapp, they're all in this box set.
Oh, lovely.
With Adult Period, all these bands. And it's just basically 4 minutes, 33 seconds of them in front of their gear and the static and the synthesizer chirping and humming, like just the noise. Anyway, it's really cool. They asked me to do a candle, and I had to interpret 433. I did a scent version of it with one of the perfumers at Simrise. And so they included in the box set, it's like 5 white records of all the tracks, and then my candles. So it's very on. And we did a launch party right out near my studio on the Lower East Side, this hotel called Public. Very cool, this modern tower. Did it on the roof. And Daniel Miller came over from London, and he performed as the normal. He did a cover of 433, and he did a cover of Warm Leatherette. And very cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
the classic,
never did that live.
Normal. I used to have the 7-inch single of that, and then of course a lot of people know it through Grace Jones, her cover.
Yeah. It's mental, right? So the reason I brought up this it's in like 2019. I mean, I was already kind of listening to this stuff by Harold Budd and
we love
Klaus Schulze, as you mentioned, and Tangerine Dream and Rotalis, and obviously Kraftwerk I've been into some years. And so that was all gelling, and then when the pandemic hit, I really just all that music, I just that was all that we were playing it 24/7 in our home, in this cabin, as you can see. And so that informed a lot of my mental state for Forest of the Golden Dream. It really helped kind of bring it, because it was floating around in the abstract from like 2016 when we started thinking about it to about 2019. It was really in the abstract. And then when the heck did IFF take it on? It must have been about 2017. Right after I won Perfume Extraordinaire, we started. So it must have been 2017. And then, the music, this was where my headspace was, basically all these sounds. So it's very cool that you noticed that. You've picked up on that, which is quite mental. Of
course. Well, I say of course, but I think to other people, I mean, especially people who are not as familiar with this genre, they're but
I should post a little playlist though.
Yeah,
I think some people are curious. And
maybe I should do that. We could collaborate on putting together sort of a playlist, because I mean, obviously our music tastes, there's much overlap, and I tapped into this kind of energy with this. So this is, I have both of these and I enjoy both of them. I have the Ierofante, but Forest of the Golden Dream is what really resonated with me a great deal, because there's just something about there's so much contrast between light and dark. It's kind of like when you're in a forest and you have sort of these columns of light coming down, but it's not all light. It feels like that to me, and I just recently did a video on agrestic and bucolic fragrances on my channel, and if I did the video later, I would have included this with with that selection, because it really does evoke that for me. Just sort of the woods at the perimeter where you just still have some light coming through. And I really, really enjoy it. Rachel, I want to give you an opportunity, because I think out of the two, maybe you're a really big fan of this and you might want to ask some questions about it. I know that you really enjoy. And tell me, Joseph, how do you plan? Is it Ierofante or Ierofante?
Ierofante.
Ierofante.
Basically means the tarot, the tarot card, the Hierophant. It's just the Hierophant translated into Italian.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Before Rachel, before you move forward, we are Sentient, a good friend and our resident wrench moderator. Always appreciated. Looking forward to the motoric mix. We know as Kraut fans what he means by that. So yes, Rachel, I'm gonna pass it along to you, because I know you have a lot to.
This is fascinating to just listen in, and I'm sure all of you can already tell just how amazing these fragrances are. And one of the things that I think makes, oh my gosh, of course, but one of the things that makes Joseph's work, makes Parfums, Quartana, all of the fragrances stand out, is that they have an incredible amount of intellectual stimulation and an equally amazing amount of sensorial stimulation. So these perfumes are a joy to wear. They're absolutely amazing. They're not simple one-note perfumes. They're complex. They just give and give and give, and you can, they're just a pleasure. They're a pure physical pleasure to wear. But then there's this whole other layer of like intellectual background. I mean, we haven't even really started talking about the fragrances, but you can see already all the seeds of the influences. They're just universes behind these fragrances. They're not just, they're not a typical brief. They're not we're thinking of Italy. It's a trip to Italy, like your kind of standard, right?
Right.
These are really high concept art pieces that are also everyday wearable, beautiful. Like, you don't have to know anything. You can just spray it on and go, and it's beautiful and sensual and lovely and gorgeous. But it's both, and it's like,
yeah. And I just want to piggyback on that. What I think is great. So I love concept and brands, but I love it when the concept has just enough restraint that it leaves it to be open-ended. And sometimes the trouble I have with certain indie houses is that they go right into a very, very specific narrative, and they almost kind of leave very little room for open-endedness. And what I like is there's enough room for that, and you have a little bit of exploration of your own, and you can fill in sort of the blanks and everything. So I just wanted to give props for that to convey a theme without overdoing the narrative is so important to me, and I think that you do a great job with that in your releases.
Thank you very much. Thank you both. That's really, really kind. It warms my heart, and I will tell you, I get out of bed in the morning for folks like yourself. I definitely do this for the love, because we don't make money. This is not exactly a money-making business. Although I hope that I one day can, but it's really, we sacrifice a lot to bring these to life, because they're not commercial, and I'm fighting the winds of commerce. I'm fighting the winds of inflation right now. We actually haven't had to adjust our prices. I've been eating it. So, because I bought deep on my components, thank God, that was just as a fail safe of in case, remember there was like a component shortage like 2 years ago. So we were like, let's just make sure we have enough to stay.
That was smart.
Yeah. Thanks. So
you mind if sorry, just quickly.
Please do, Rachel.
Before we run away, because I'm really curious about what you guys were talking about, the way that, music, both music and perfume are ways to ornament time. And that's such a brilliant discussion. Do you mind if we just real quick go back? Joseph, you mentioned that for Mutant Records, you made a candle. Can you tell us a little bit about what was the fragrance or smell of the candle that was captured 433?
Sure.
I would love to hear that.
Totally. Sadly, we didn't really press it, because literally like the next week, the pandemic hit. So it was so strange when we did this enormous event. I worked on it for like, obviously I worked on the candle for like 6 months, the whole summer. I designed all the packaging, it was my summer project, and I promoted it all. I organized it. I did I had Mute come over and dealing with their head of marketing. And it was a whole big thing. Oh, and then there's a crazy story at the end, which I'm going to tell you because you're going to be blown away. There's so many weird things to this story. So, okay. Well, firstly, Bubs, can you get one of the sets? Yeah, I was asking my wife to get one of the candle sets so you can see.
Oh, nice.
Or the whole set itself. So, point is, I never got to show it off. Okay, so Stum 433. So to just refresh your viewers who are just joining us now.
Yeah.
John Cage, the musician, did a song back in I think this was like 1952 or 51, called 433. And it's literally just 4 minutes and 33 seconds of recorded silence. It's a song of nothing. It's really nothing. And it's basically just the quintessence of minimalism.
Right.
It's literally just allowing things to happen and just like that buzz. But I think more than that, it's a chance for the life essence. This is the gist of it. Okay. The life essence, the vitality or the chi or the prana, whatever you want to call it, that vital force that makes us alive versus dead as a doorknob, that comes through.
Yeah.
In the recording, and that comes through in the records. I had so many people that just didn't get it with this. They were like, why would I want 5 records of silence? And I'm like, don't you understand? To have the record of Depeche Mode's essence just distilled down is kind of interesting,
Yeah.
So this is it. It's a beast. It cost actually like $433. No, sorry, maybe like $300. I remember there was a whole bunch of, the running thing was 433. So in this beast, yeah.
That's amazing.
There's still a few for sale if anyone wants them. I checked recently.
Oh, yeah.
I just love the prospect of listening to the vinyl, and the vinyl as a physical object. That performance would be an entirely different interpretation of 433 than a live performance, because not only, with a live performance, you have the ambient sound of the breathing and the coughing of the audience and like the space. But with a vinyl version of it, you would have any sort of the slightest imperfections of the vinyl, of dust, the slightest little pops. Yeah. And I know that would completely fly over the head of some people. Like, why would you want to listen to what they would consider nothing or a blank vinyl record? But I think that there's something so profound about, it's sort of like that was kind of like a reflection of mid-century art as a shock of the new. And the fact that it does it does focus in on the concept of a Zen, of Zen Buddhism, and of just concentrating on things as they are.
Yeah, just letting things be.
Letting things be.
Them, experiencing them in the moment, and just losing yourself in that very moment. So the candle set is very simple like this. I mean, when you open it up, and it's like so. And then up below, and so I did this candle, and I never worked with her before. Marcela Olalde de Castillo at Simrai. She did a fabulous job. And then let me just fix this. Show off the. So it was designed to kind of look like, these did not transit well, unfortunately. Designed to kind of look like a speaker set up.
Oh, let's get you into a zoom here so we can take a look.
That's
great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so you take the little candles out, take off the little, and then you just burn them in a sort of well, we were trying, but the smell, let's talk about the composition, because that's the thing, right? It wasn't just like, oh, let's do lemon, I thought about I thought about what was the point of the piece So one thing about John Cage was that he was into psychedelic mushrooms.
Yes.
He was ahead of the American Mycological Society, just FYI. The other thing is that he also presented 433. He played it for the first time in Woodstock here in New York. But the town, not where. So we live in the other Woodstock, where like the first concert took place. Like we're like 5 minutes from that field, cabin. But anyway, he performed in the other Woodstock, so it's kind of interesting. So it's like very psychedelic.
Right.
The scent smells like how do I put it? So 433 for me, the interpretation was that it was an intermission in a performance. And what I mean by this is that I was reading John Cage was a pragmatist, and he thought that 4 minutes and 32 seconds is the ideal time to kind of in between one performative aspect of the piece and the next aspect, so that, and it gives you a chance to kind of savor the afterglow of the performance, right?
Yeah.
And desire more. And I captured that with the moon phase and the graphics of the candles. And so the fragrance itself smells essentially like, I imagined a Shakespearean wooden theater. And I imagined a performance that was so searing that it actually singed the atmosphere and it singed the wood in the theater. And so that's really the scent. It's the smell of a performance that was so fiery
that it sort of ignited the space.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's the afterglow of that, and so it's the idea again of like you in witnessing the performance and desiring more. You know, so you're like, oh, that was so scintillating. We want an encore. We need an encore. It's like this. And so that was really the smell. So I started to thinking in the abstract space and I started to interpret, ambient songs and music, living in that space to see what might pop out in terms of like, the scent equivalence, I guess, So, that this kind of segued into birth, like how Ierofante sort of came into being, because it was definitely it was hot on the heels of finishing Stum 433.
Yeah. Well, let's share a little bit with folks who are tuned in for Ierofante. So just to give the notes breakdown, informational. And the full bottle from Rachel. Beautiful bottles, might I add.
Thank you.
Now, I love how we, instead of having your standard top, heart, and base, we have acts. We have Act 1, Ignition, where we have suede, gasoline, accord, and nutmeg. Then we have Act 2, smoky, leather, styrax, and pyrogene. Just from the root of that word, we have a pretty good idea of what that imparts.
Styrax, yes, it's
pyrogenated. Yeah,
it's pyrogenated styrax. One of my favorite.
So is that just styrax pyrogene together?
It is styrax pyrogene. It's exactly.
Oh, great. Okay, I thought it was two separate. Oh, great.
Yeah. Sorry, I guess that didn't translate.
No, it's fine. Act 3, Arrival, and this is where it simmers down into a golden amber, cashmeran, and vetiver. And the perfumer Luca Maffei. Do I pronounce his last name correctly? Maffei?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just want to double check. Want to make sure. So. Tell us a little bit more about the inception of this, and then Rachel, I'm sure you have questions because I know how much you love it. So
really quickly, I got to tell you guys the funny crazy story about 433. Just the final. It's like
Please do. We'll get back to that.
This is mental. I finished the candle. I shipped it from my warehouse. By the way, I wasn't really paid for 433. I did it just out of the love of my heart. I sent the candles from LA to London. Okay. We made 600 candles. The idea being there was going to be 433 candle sets for the sets, and then like 150 to gift out to the bands and so on, all the Mute employees, press, so on. The candles arrive in London, and the head of Mute's creative team calls me up, and he's like, Joseph, we have a little bit of a problem. And I'm like, what? And he's like, they were opening the first sets out of the top of the freight, and they were all melted. melted. They exploded in transit because
no.
someone heated the cabin too much. And we had indicated their candles, they need safe handling, and you can't leave them on the tarmac in Dubai. That's going to obviously be a problem.
Right.
And so we were like, oh my God, are they all ruined? And so he's like, all right, we're going to basically have the team go through all of them, every single one, and pick out what's salvageable. Okay, I wait the whole weekend sweating. I'm like, oh my God, it's disaster. The whole thing's ruined because they can't release it now. The boxes were, already made. There's no backing out. The deadline is like, it would have taken us a month to kind of redo everything. So Mute calls me Monday morning. They're like, sit down. And I'm like, okay. I'm like literally crapping my pants. They say, you're not going to believe this, but exactly 433 sets survived.
No.
Exactly 433?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah. I have the email. I will screen cap and show anyone who wants to see. And I was just kind of like, what? But wait, it gets better. It gets better.
Really?
I fronted like 10 grand of my own money to make this happen because I was so in love with the concept. I think Daniel Miller's insanely amazing. He's like a pope for me. I had to serve him in some way. I got a check from UPS for the damage for 20 grand.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they paid for everything and then some. Insurance. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
So that is the universe saying, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you script this? Can you even make this up? So it was some kind of like sacred sort of very bizarre. Yeah. So there's your weird story of the day. I'm full of weird stories. I got more if you want. But that's one of them. So I told you I had to share that with you. It's like too nuts. So. That's and then this segues into, of course, the Ierofante, and all the strangeness, of how this one came to be.
Yeah.
Also, so anyway, we'll talk about. Okay, where did I come up with this? Let me just I have to put myself back into this space. So after STEM 433, okay, I had recently met Luca Maffei in Milan. Michelin Cayman of Saint-Laurent was kind enough to introduce us in Milan at Exons one year. I guess it was like 2018. And Luca was working on a champagne accord for Mask Milano's, what's that one they won the award for? It has a champagne accord in it.
Yeah.
The name escapes me, but I know what you're talking
about.
Latessa, yeah.
Amazing fragrance. And so he brought the champagne accord and he's like, here, smell this. And I was like, whoa. I was like, you are incredibly I like perfumers that can create realistic smelling accords of strange things, for example, tires or semen, or various things I've worked with in the past out of other ingredients. It's really incredible. I love that magic. That sorcery is really just fascinating, and one thing that gets me very excited about perfumery. Why I love staying in this world. So anyway, I was like, we have got to work together. And he was like, yeah, I want to work with you too. And so, we met 1 year later at Cannes for the TFWA, the tax and duty free. I was there, I guess it was 2019. Right. And yes, it was exactly around the time I was also working on STEM 433. And so, we didn't know what we were going to do. I was like, I think I want to do a gasoline fragrance because I had this idea, of unleaded from DKNY, and I thought it was just interesting and there was time for it. And interestingly, I'm quite friendly with Gerald from Histoire de Parfum.
Oh, yeah.
He did a fragrance called Petroleum, and he gave me a bottle, and that's his gasoline fragrance, but it's not like gasoline. That one smells more like a motor or engine oil. It's a different,
more like motor oil. Yeah.
It's totally that. But what's fascinating is he created it from rose and oud. I was like, that is insane. That is insane. So I was just like, wow, blown away. But I was like, mine is totally different. I have a different idea. I want mine to be incendiary. And I mentioned earlier in the show that my father had an Exxon gas station, a repair and stuff. And so when I was a little boy, he would bring me there and starting from the age of 12, he made me dispense gasoline for the customers. He's trying to teach me the value of $1. This is back in the 80s. And so I've always been around it, and then I've been a bit of a gearhead, you know. I don't talk about that, but I like cars, and, you know, I just don't show that part of my life. Yeah. You know, it's misunderstood, I guess. But yeah, you know, my father races Corvettes and blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so this fragrance, I didn't want to do something that's necessarily celebrating the petrochemical industry, because I'm kind of not into that. I believe in global warming and all that. I'm really concerned and all that. This is not about that at all. In fact, it's really about, okay, now here's where the story gets interesting. In 2017, I won Perfume Extraordinaire for Poppy Soma, right? This is kind of crazy. I was at Lincoln Center that night, got the award. I get lauded for a fragrance series based on death. You know, Le Poisson Fatale was about poisonous flowers. And so I get celebrated for that. That night, I go home and I died in my kitchen. I'm not even kidding. My gallbladder exploded.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And I had to basically go to the emergency room at NYU. I woke my wife up at 6 a.m. I was like ghost white, sweating, go to NYU hospital. Like they rushed me into surgery for 2 hours to try to figure out what's wrong. Jeez. And sonography, x-rays, MRI. And they're finally like, your gallbladder exploded. We have to do an endoscopy like right now.
Yeah.
They do a surgery down my throat for 4.5 hours while I was like out. And at noon, I woke up and I'm like, did I win a prize last night? What's going on? Like, why am I in this hospital bed? It was so mental, you know, it was like, literally like, what the, you know? And it was a really surreal day. And yeah, so just by total weird coincidence, my gallbladder decided to explode the night I got celebrated for creating a fragrance series based on poison. So I was supposed to meet my doctor that night. Yeah. The doctor was like, good thing you came, because your wife would have definitely found you dead on your floor, you know?
My God.
Yeah. You know, like, so isn't it crazy? And so,
what do they think caused that to happen?
Basically, World Trade Center dust.
Oh my!
I was here, you know, I've been here, and so doing downtown the whole time. And so, yeah, it's kind of mental. And so I'm okay, thank God. But for a year, I was in the hospital, and I had to get another massive surgery to like replumb my guts because I digested myself. When your gallbladder explodes, it's like spilling stomach acid on your organs.
Right.
And cut away all the damage and replumb. Yeah, it's a mess. And so to this day, it made me an instant vegan. They're like, you're never eating meat again. You know, I'm like,
yeah.
It's all good. And so basically while I was in the hospital bed for a year, that's when everything changed. And firstly, I got the ideas for Forest of the Golden Dream, you know. So I basically took it into my mind that I was going to survive this, you know, and I took on a huge holistic approach in every aspect of my life. I was like, I got to embrace life. Like literally, remember the Choose Life tea that Wham wore?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
That was it. It's a matter of just like choosing life in every moment and every second of your existence, breathing that in and letting it circulate through you, and you can heal yourself. And basically, during the course of my convalescence, I was driving my car, racing, I should say, up the side of a mountain here in the Catskills, and I had this experience that I transcended in a way. I had a really, I don't know how to describe it, but like I felt like I was touched by the hand of God, if you could say that. I pulled over, I wept for 10 minutes, and I was like, "What did I just experience?" It was this like crazy white light that felt like everything was okay, pure love, and I don't know, it was like an angel. It's sort of this kind of thing. And so I took that in my mind, and I was like, I want to make a fragrance based on this experience of rocketing up the side of a hill and then touching an angel and then going back to earth, feeling good, and feeling like I need to do the right thing and choose life and that kind of thing. You kind of come back, I guess, enlightened and a different person. That was sort of the idea. And so on the one hand, I was like, I want to make gasoline fragrance. On the other hand, I want to have the idea of this like rocketary transcendence. And that's sort of what I gave to Luca for Ierofante. And I was like, here's the thing. I want this to dry down in reverse. I was like, could we start it out being heavy and dank and then igniting and then going to this airy place, this heavenly place, this idea of Elysium, the lore of the Hierophante. The Hierophante is the guardian to a place of paradise on earth called Elysium, which the lore is said to exist on the edge of the earth. So we were like, well, logically, you'd take a rocket to get there, right? You know, it's all again part of the lore. And so I was reading this Hierophante lore, and that started to figure in. And finally, I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey for like the 25th time. It was one of my favorite films of all time. And I realized that Stanley Kubrick was basically, I think that 2001: A Space Odyssey is nothing more than the Hierophante lore in film form. And if you study the tarot, and if you study the mythology of the Hierophante, it's exactly that. It's what Dave experiences. There's a lot of commentary about that and hidden things. Like, for example, they're taking a spaceship to Jupiter in the Tree of Life, like the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, the specific pathway for the Hierophante, the chariot, is going to Jupiter too. I mean, in a chariot. So there's all sorts of clues if you really read into it. So fascinating stuff. Rewatch 2001, the idea of Hierophante. And
great activity would be to wear some of this and watch it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. or watch my film too, because I did a little like nod.
Oh, nice. I did see a short film for Forest of the Golden Dream. And I was captivated.
And Ierofante.
Oh, I should check out the one for
do.
Ierofante.
And I'll say this: just I take the films. The films are the eyes and ears of the perfume, and I really take them seriously. And I write them at the same time. And I'm like a nitpicking freak about them being. I'm as fastidious with my perfumes with the films and the music. And I work with a really great team. A guy named, I'm going to give him a shout out, Rob Barrialis, this director. He's my visual artist, and I've done 3 amazing films with him. 2 have gone on to be nominated by a Shaded View on Fashion. This is Fashion Film Festival in Paris. That's really cool. Your readers should check it out. It's all experimental film. It's not just fashion films. It's like experimental visual stuff, but it's kind of like, it's sort of like the art and olfaction of film.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really experimental. So two of our films that were nominated that I did with Rob. So Ierofante, actually, and then the one before that we did for Digitalis, which is a fairy film. But yes, we did a film for Forest of the Golden Dream, and it's really fun. But watch them; they're only 2 minutes. There's no dialogue, and they're just it's a mood. It's really the same mood and mythology that I'm trying to explain in the perfume. It just spells it out a little, you know. So,
Digitalis, the foxglove. That's definitely a very poisonous plant.
Yeah. The film is fun because this one we shot literally in our backyard here. Like, by total crazy coincidence, we had foxgloves coming up in our yard, and I mean a lot. Like, there was like 100 of them. So I actually like trimmed my yard to look like this sort of arboretum of foxgloves. You know, it looks like this manicured space. Shot the film with my friend's daughter as the fairy. We put these wings on her. You'll see it. It's really funny. And it's cute. But
we have a quick question. We are sentient. Are Parfums Quartana, are they for sale in the EU or?
One store. Yeah. Okay. So we used to sell all over. Pandemic stopped that. We stopped all of our distribution deals. And now we're like easing back into the EU. We want to do it, you know, on our terms and not getting ripped off as we did last time so badly. So, but one store we're selling at is called SIXSCENTS in Budapest. They are fantastic. The website is number 7 and then SCENTS.HU.
I think I've seen that site before.
Billie Eilish just went there and hung out. Like, she heard about it. I mean, so they're like lit in the EU, and they have the most freaking cutting edge, searing curation of niche brands. That's what they do. They just double down on the cutting edge.
Yeah. Billie Eilish is a sort of like a fragrance, like kind of a frag head herself. She's into
I mean, it goes back to my point of music and fragrance, just always having a handshake. You know, it's the same science, just different organs. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
And They have a huge online. They're on Instagram. Like you can communicate with them really easily. They're super easy to get in touch with. They'll ship to the United States. They're great. They're great guys.
Yeah, and they ship all over the EU. That's the one point I wanted to make, is that they ship all over the EU. So if you're in Italy or wherever, France or Germany, Holland, and you want to buy my stuff, you can get it there. But we're talking to some new stores and easing back in. So I just wanted to make sure we're ready for it, because when we had SIXSCENTS, we had 250 stores. It was so much to manage, and I made no money, because it was just like a hurricane. And so now we do like 1/10 the volume, but we're happy, and it's like the right stores, the right people. We sell a lot ourselves online, so we have relationships with our own clientele, and that's really nice. I can get feedback and who do I want to serve? I don't want to serve. Of course, I love my shops. Don't get me wrong. Thank you, Near and Tracy at Perfumology and Perfumery for stocking me since the beginning, and of course, but nothing like having your own relationship.
Can I ask real quick, Joseph, do you mind and pick your brain a little bit on?
Yeah, sure. I know I'm blabbing, so cut me off. Yeah, sometimes I do.
No, you're amazing. You're so eloquent, and your mind is just so full of brilliant ideas. And so thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Pick your brain a little bit. So when I smell Ierofante, I'm personally specifically reminded of the launch pad at NASA, which we visit a lot as a family. But can you tell me your thoughts on petrol versus gasoline versus jet fuel? Did you have any of those differences in mind? Are they different to you or the same? Do you mind expounding a little bit?
Yeah. We wanted to kind of course, petrol is actually, petrol is gasoline. They're the same things, right? And petrol is just the European word for gasoline.
Yes.
Rocket fuel is actually kerosene, which smells different from gasoline. But here's where we took some creative liberties. I wanted it to be gasoline. So we're like, all right, this rocket ship runs on gasoline, because no one knows what kerosene smells like. So we're like, we'll do it gasoline.
Yeah, not too many people are using kerosene lamps these days.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, or at least they're probably not buying my perfumes, So anyway, it's gasoline. And like I said, I gave Luca some examples of what not to do. I was like, we're not going to do Fahrenheit. We're not going to do Histoire de Parfums petroleum, because that's their thing. And I want to steer way clear of it. Anyway, they were doing this whole motor oil rose oud thing. So I was like, I want ours to be crisp, like the gasoline at the pump, it has that crispness about it, right? That benzene aspect, that searing aspect. So Luca, to his credit, did a fine job of kind of nailing that down. And we worked on the gasoline accord for a few months before I think he really got it. But one thing we had a bit of a push and pull about was that I wanted to make it more chemical, like really harsh and industrial. And Luca was like, no, we have to make it beautiful. It has to be elegant gasoline. And then in the end he won, and I agreed. I was like, okay, you're right. And what he did was, this is actually more his, because he sort of diffused it with that really lovely benzoin that you can kind of smell coming through, and it's an uncredited notes in here that we do so that we can't be ripped off, but I'm giving you some. Basically, the long and short of Ierofante is that it starts off smelling like gasoline and suede. What's that? So it's basically the rocket ship is just fueled off. You're sitting on the tarmac waiting for takeoff. You're wearing your crisp new white spacesuit a la David Bowie, and
ground control to Major Tom.
Exactly, yeah. And that's it. And so the countdown starts, and about 30 seconds. No, sorry, about. Maybe it starts to peak out, but I would say maybe about 30 minutes in, the perfume ignites and the pyrogenid styrex starts to become a bit more prominent, and that's the ascension, the engine's firing. We have smoky leather too, backing that up. The beginning also, there's not just gasoline and suede, there's nutmeg. That's one of the key ingredients that makes this gourmand, But here's what's really cool. Nutmeg is also a very powerful hallucinogen.
Yes, that's true.
It's the beginning of our trip. Gabish.
Yeah.
Ooh, where did those balloons come from?
I don't know, and that was really strange. That like,
just the timing of it. Like you start
I swear to
talking
God,
about the
that was not
nutmeg.
me. I thought that was someone like
You start talking about the nutmeg, and then the balloons just started lifting upward. I felt like I just took some nutmeg.
I know, that's really strange, and I can't explain that.
Where did that come from?
Mondo Bizarro. I don't know. Weird.
I love
Anyway.
it though.
Okay.
I wish that I had the ability to do that. I don't know if I did
know,
it. It was
we need some more
accidental.
balloons. Yeah. Cue the balloons.
But carry on. That was cool.
That was really strange. So yeah. So back to the mid notes, you know, and it's the smoky leather and the pyrogenated styrex, and we're ascending. We're going to Elysium at the edge of the at the edge of the earth, as according to the lore of the Ierofante. And finally, the arrival is our idea of Elysium, and that's Luca basically giving you a nice sloppy Italian dessert. You know, it's it smells like to me it smells a bit like creme brulee. You know, it was the closest analog, or like a panna cotta, a smoked panna cotta. But it's basically an amber, cashmere on vetiver, and then mirror, basically. It's a really nice vanillic mirror. I think it's uncredited, but I'm letting you guys know also. But that's our little prize waiting for you at the core. And this is your paradise for all time, is a big sweet cake for eternity, right?
I love that.
But that's it. And so the Hierophant is said to kind of sort of protect this pathway, you know. Only the profane can kind of enter it. And I mean, so we were just, you know, that's it's a gasoline scent that's supposed to remind you that you can ascend to the stars within your own mind if you're ever down and out. I wanted to just kind of inspire hope, you know, because I was like trying to give myself hope while I was convalescing from this like near-death experience.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so it started. And so if you want to talk about like Ierofante is a standalone, you know, I have Le Potion Fatale. Prior to that, all the poisonous flowers, right?
I look forward to experiencing those. I love that.
Yeah, I can't wait to share them with you. Hey, yes, there's my hemlock, and is that Poppy Soma? Yeah.
Hemlock and actually it's Belladonna, Venetian.
Right, okay. It's hard to see. Yeah, nice. Okay. I'm going to show you guys off. I have Wolfsbane here because I want to show you the new improved packaging. We'll get to that, you know, later. But yeah, Ierofante is making a point. I totally forgot. It's an in-between scent. It's basically the rocket right out of the poison garden and then into the realm of healing.
Yes.
Realm. So this is the new collection, which will be called La Potion d'Antelachie, or the potions of Entelechy. What is Entelechy? No one knows this word. I had to even look it up. I found this word from being fascinated by the architecture of John C. Portman.
Oh,
you know him? Yeah.
I thought I was going to ask if you studied critical.
Ooh, where did she go? Where did Rachel go?
I don't know.
We lost her. I see that she's still. Oh, that's very strange. Yeah.
She said critical.
Well, I'm still here. I have you close. But I don't know what happened. Well, I hope that she returns.
I'm sure she will.
Why don't I'm just going to, I'm not kicking her out. I think maybe that will help her to get back in if I do that. Right. So why don't we do this quickly? Usually in the 1 hour mark, we do like a quick intermission. It's very quick. And then we'll be right back and we'll get started with discussing Forest of the Golden Dream in that series. So
right on.
We'll be back, folks, in just a moment. All right, folks, welcome back. We have special guests of Joseph Quartana with us. And I just wanted to inform folks who are tuned in or who are even watching this on the archive that we do have Buy Me a Coffee promotion right now. If you buy 6 cups of coffee through the Buy Me a Coffee link, you get a generous sample pack from my ginormous collection of samples. For 12 cups, you will get a 4 full bottle grab bag of fragrances from my collection, plus a sample pack. Each cup of coffee is $5. So you can do the math there. 6 cups equals a generous sample pack. 12 cups equals a 4 full bottle grab bag. And I want to stress that's a grab bag. No requests. It is a surprise, but we've had a number of these purchases of the 4 full bottle grab bag, and people have been very pleased with what they found in their possession. So it's 4 full bottle grab bag plus a sample pack. That is 12 cups of coffee. Unfortunately, this is US only, please. So I can ship to the 50 states. That is at buymeacoffee.com/Joseph Cole P. And also a reminder, don't forget to hit the like. It helps the algorithm. It helps this channel. It helps this channel get attention so that more people are aware of the awesome guests that we have through our Effluvium live streams. So just hit the like. If you haven't subscribed already, if you found us through Joseph, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell button so you can be notified of other great streams in the future. So it's just to subscribe to JJ Colborn. We have Effluvium streams every 2 weeks. And next week, I actually will be doing a live stream of the Material series. The first one I did was back in October, and that was for tea. And the one that I'll be doing next week will be on leather. So I'll be going over the different fragrant perfume materials that are used by perfumers, and we'll go over some examples of leather fragrances from collections. So just stay tuned for the time and date for that, but that will be next week. So we're going to bring back Rachel and our guest, Joseph Quartana, and we are going to start chatting about the other fragrance that I have a sample of that I'm absolutely smitten with, Forest of the Golden Dream. So do you mind, Joseph, if I read off the crown, the heart, and the root here?
Please. Yeah.
Because you'll just have to bear with
boxing. The meanwhile.
So to give a notes breakdown to the folks who are tuned in, and I actually probably want to get a little bit more of a light here and try a hand at my ability to read smaller print, being I just turned 45 and I'm feeling it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Guatemalan cardamom oil, pink pepper oil, CO2, carbon dioxide extraction, which I've discussed in previous live streams, coriander seed oil, laurel leaf oil, and this is, I'm trying to read this. This is fumatrice.
Yes, sfumatrice. It's
Sfumatrice Italian lemon oil. That is the crown. Kind of reminds me of the crown chakra.
Yes, that's exactly the reference. You got it.
Oh, great.
Reference to chakras.
Heart is Pamplemousse, and Pamplemousse is in my perfumer's organ. Pamplemousse is this beautiful grapefruit, citric, almost coniferous smelling sort of material, which when I saw that in the notes breakdown, I was really intrigued. We also have French Mimosa Absolute from LMR Naturals, Libinum oil, Violet Leaf Absolute from LMR, Siberian Pine Needle oil, Canadian Fir Balsam Needle oil, Fir Balsam Resin Absolute, Eucalyptus. And then the root, as in the roots chakra, we have cool wood, which I want to ask you about, Joseph, because I don't know about this cool wood.
An IFF molecule.
Nice. Cypress Ultimate Absolute from LMR, Sandalwood, and patchouli oil from LMR, and moss. And the perfumer is Céline Barrel. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah.
Barrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Okay. And I really enjoy this one.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this. Look at that bottle. I will very, very likely have a one of those in my possession soon. I'll let you know when I'm ready.
So I actually asked my husband.
The bottle illuminates. You see, I made it sort of frosted. The idea being the glow. Yeah.
Brilliant.
inner illumination.
Let's move. Can you do that again? We're gonna zoom in so we have folks get a better view. If you want to bring up that light source and we can see the illumination. Ooh, it's nice. Rachel, I wanted you to.
Oh, I was just gonna say that's a bottle of this fragrance is what I've asked my husband for Christmas. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, you have one coming, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
I sent one to you. Yeah. So you're gonna get one. I thank you.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you so much. And
so we interrupt this very important live stream for a completely non sequitur question. I love the non sequitur question. Should I buy Bentley for Men Absolute, or are there more interesting alternatives? That really depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a replacement for the Bentley for Men? As far as I know, Gucci was a Gucci Homme 2. I think it's supposed to smell a lot like. Are either of you familiar with Bentley for Men Absolute?
Yeah.
Like the car brand?
Yeah, it actually is. It's Bentley.
It's like Ferrari fragrances. So I know a perfumer who is working on that too. It's very strange, But yeah. I mean,
isn't the same perfumer who worked on Encre Noire? Oh my God, what's her name? Rachel, you can help me out with this. Natalie Lorson.
Yeah,
I think Natalie Lorson worked on the Bentley for Men Intense, and I think that actually the perfumer who originally did the Gucci did Bentley for Men Absolute. So I think that they're very similar. But this really depends on what your budget is. If you're looking to have more cost effective. If you don't want to spend a lot of money, I think it's a great, incensey woody fragrance. So that's my answer. Go for it. Unless you found something else that seems to be more complex and fulfills you more, then I see nothing wrong with it. I have some of it in my own collection. So there you go, MDS. Thank you for your non sequitur question for the stream. And
MDS, if you want to smell like a car, gasoline and leather, this one right here, Ierofante, and it won the Art and Olfaction Blindfolded Independent Award. This is a car fragrance, okay? Not Bentley for Men. This is a car fragrance.
No, personally, I think if I were to if there were to be a choice between the two of them, I would ask that MDS actually seek out a sample of Ierofante, because it is much more fascinating and compelling to me than the Bentley for Men Absolute. So.
Thank you for saying. Yeah,
of course. Well, I do, honestly. Philippe, our good friend Philippe, my friend who helps me with my French pronunciations. Hello, good to see you here. All right, let's get back to chatting here regarding Forest of the Golden Dream.
I think that I'll just say a quick something, and then I know JJ, you really wanted, you love these types of fragrances, so I really want to hear your opinion. But I think that the use of the cypress and the laurel leaf in particular in this fragrance is really masterful, and I love like all of Joseph's fragrances, the complexity, just how delicious, how lovely they are, to where you don't have to think about the fragrance if you don't want to, but if you want to spend time with it and really think about the different layers and complexity of the fragrance, it is there, and that's what I love. That's what I love about these fragrances.
Thank you. We strive to make fragrances that are meaningful. That's the main thing. A long time ago, I figured out how to create fragrances that are like compelling and seductive. Okay. Why stop there though? I wanted to kind of give them something to really chew on. And I think that's nicer. It's your little secret, also that you're kind of chewing that concept that I've given you, not that I've given you, I've just shown you the way it existed before me. I'm just showing you the way to it via the perfume. But that's it, there's definitely there's a universe waiting for you in my perfumes. It's not just about smelling nice, and it's a positive universe, one really beautiful place. I promise you that. Even my poison flower ones lead you to a place of salvation. They're not dark. Ultimately, they actually celebrate poison flowers as psychedelics and agents of ritual, taking your mind to a place of splendor and wonder and the infinite, So it's really that, they're thorny because that's the style, that's really just the stylistic sort of thing we take. These are the opposite of thorny though, but they're a little bit, because they have that fairy tale realness, about them, I guess, because Yeah,
Now, I did make this observation.
Celine, it's all Celine, Rachel. It's all Celine with all of the complexity. I just want to point that out. It's not me. So I just give them the inspiration. Yeah.
And she brings them to life. And that's the thing. This has a lot of life to it. It feels living. It feels like living material.
Exactly what we were going for, what we were striving. Like Celine was literally inspired by the idea of kodama, which is like Japanese forest spirits.
Yeah.
And the fact that the forest is alive, and feel it, and then you can hug the trees and they imbue in energy. This fragrance was actually somewhat inspired by an LSD trip I had on the beaches of Maine back in the mid-90s, where I saw for the first time this sort of, I didn't see, but I perceived the idea of like the golden soul of like the pine trees that were all along the coast. And it just blew my mind for like 8 hours. I came away a different person that day, I promise. So this is kind of a nod to that, but it's really about peeling away the veil. It's about being present in a forest and becoming so present. You have that like timeless moment where you're just like, you have that aha, where you're like, I get it. It's just so simple. This is the essence of life. And it's so beautiful and it's simple now and in the here and now, and it's in my hand and I can have it if I want. And it's a celebration of that golden pathway, if you want. And so the other thing about this fragrance too, is that most, if not all of the essential oils are healing. They have healing properties, like quite literally. They boost the immune system and they're anti-inflammatory. These are the two vital things. If you want to live a long time, you have to keep your immune system very strong, because that's all that stands between you and death, literally. And then inflammation is the harbinger of all disease. So if you keep inflammation levels low in your body, so certain oils decrease inflammation. All junk food increases inflammation.
Yeah. All the junk food with the acrylamides, the
pesticides,
all the things that oxidate. Oxidation. When you think of oxidation, you think of minerals that the iron can rust and metals can rust. That's oxidation, and oxidation does that to the human body. It
you literally rust, right?
Breaks down the cells and breaks down the collagen and all this stuff. That's what can expedite aging and expedite disease. And a lot of people don't realize that I actually a number of years ago got my certification in clinical aromatherapy as well.
No
way. I have that whole other background
way.
as well.
That's super cool. Yeah, no wonder you're digging this one. This is definitely, we were trying to like basically do like a nuclear reboot of aromatherapy.
Yeah.
Supercharged.
This is the thing. In aromatherapy circles, it's all about like, natural, clean living and the fear of synthetics. But here's the twist, is that the constituents that you can reap the benefits of from essential oils, you can still reap the benefits from conventional perfumery, because those very constituents are in them. So if there's a certain quantity in them, it's the same effect.
Yeah.
And even the synthetic versions of the constituents can do the same thing, like linalool and the sesquiterpenes and sesquiterpenoids that are in sandalwood and other types of oils. It still has that same effect. So I mean, that could be very well another reason why I dig this a great deal, is that I recall just being very intimate with a lot of these oils, especially those coniferous oils that I just couldn't get enough of, and they're in here in spades. I love it, and I notice. I know that you noticed this comment that I left on Persolace's on his video for his review of this, is and whether or not this was intentional or if it was a happy accident. We just know with perfumers, there's that magic behind composition. But the Pomme de Zeste that she uses in combination with the coniferous oils, I mentioned on that comment, that it brings out some of these qualities that would otherwise are not really encapsulated in those oils. Because when we think about the distillation of oils, it's a distillation, so it doesn't have that full scent profile of the raw material, the raw foliage on the tree. And through the perfumer's skill of adding these other elements to build upon that accord, you get that fleshed out feel of the cypress needles and the fir needles that you don't get from just the oils and the absolutes. She added other things to it. And I'm just assuming the Pamplemousse zest contributes to that. But that citric, bright quality, that sort of that a wonderful sort of invigorating sharpness to it that I really like about this. It's very bright, but as I said, there's shadows as well.
Yeah, it's the prize is in a thicket. You can't just get to it. It doesn't give itself up easily. It's protected. I was thinking about that too. And by the way, all of my perfumes, I quite craft them and very subconsciously. That's sort of my process. And sometimes I don't know why I do what I do, and it only comes clear after, and I have to analyze it, or someone else points something out, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense why I did it, or because I don't know. It's kind of funny. So I wanted to just point that out. With the poisons, by the way, I designed all of them in kind of an alternative state of mind. So I don't always know why I do what I do, and just want to point that out. So, but you bring up that Persilet's comment, and he was harping on how he thought this fragrance had a shadowy side too, and I think that without a doubt there does. There's a lot of contrasts in it, which I think is important in sort of finding the equilibrium. If the extremes don't exist, you can't find the middle road. Right. That's very important. So this is a celebration of that, certainly, because it's about finding that equilibrium in a forest.
Yeah. And here's another thing too. So you think about the living needles and the living foliage of the trees, but also there's the straw and the pine needles on the ground.
The loam is what it's called. The loam of the forest. Yeah, the needle.
So we have all of the dead foliage. So it's life, and then it's death. It's growth, and it's decay. The needles are on the trees, and then they eventually fall and they become nurturing to the ground. And I smell what reminds me of like that, the needles as they fall to the ground, as they're on the ground. Yeah. I was just walking through the woods yesterday, and my partner was pointing out how some of the needles that are falling, because a lot of, even conifers, they shed some needles this time of year.
Yeah. That's
even if they are evergreens. So some of them have fallen and they've landed onto these shrubs on the understory, and they look kind of like these ornaments. They're just sort of sitting, dangling off of the smaller trees and the shrubs and stuff. And I was just and this came to mind when he was talking about that. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, I really do enjoy this one. This is very well done. It makes me want to learn more about the perfumer that you commissioned to do this, because I think she worked some magic in this.
Check her stuff out. She's fantastic. She when I gave her the brief, she came up to me after, and she was like, she's French, and she was like, my God, we all thought you were completely insane, but now we get what you're getting at, and it's quite genius, But she was like, you're freaking nuts, but we love you, So it's been a really interesting journey. I think I blew her mind a little with the brief, because it was very Kabbalic when I, came at them with this. And, harking back to just like Ierofante for a second, Ierofante was like the way to get there. And then this is actually just one of the keys. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
And so all of this series of Les Potions d'Antalchier are golden keys. And so I'm putting out at least 3 more, and I have like 2 more in the works. 3 are done besides this one. So we're putting them out sequentially instead of all at once, like we did with the poison flowers, which I think was a mistake. So the next one's coming out hopefully in as early as March, barring any disasters, and then maybe another one in September, and then we'll see thereafter. But Les Potions d'Antalchier it's different from the poisons in that they're not very elaborate, complex dry downs that tell a story. The poison flower, Les Potions Fatales, here's Wolfsbane, show your readers the old artwork.
I was reading about that. I was really intrigued with the first of all a fragrance that's dedicated to Wolfsbane. Love that.
Thanks. Yep. A lot of people were like shocked for some reason that I didn't. It's like, is it really such a big deal? It's a magic flower that was used for killing people, but there's other aspects to the story.
It's a plant of nature. Why not have a tribute?
Exactly. Also a fascinating one, but I think there's this whole, a corporate hesitation to associate yourself with something dark,
Yeah.
The darkness is the beautiful aspect. It's the romantic aspect.
Yeah.
And so this whole series, I mean, for me, is kind of like the same appreciation as you'd have for like darkly romantic poetry.
Right.
Or Depeche Mode or something like that,
Yeah.
And so, but what I wanted to say, the difference is that these guys, the Poison Flowers are cinematic reels that point to different symbols in the lore about their power, how they're used for death, how they're used for transcendence, how they're used for healing in some cases. Actually, digitalis or foxglove in low doses is a heart medicine. So
right, yeah, and there are medicines that are prescribed to people that have the same constituents as is in the toxin of digitalis. So yeah.
So, but these tell a story during the dry down. Now, the difference is with these are about making a harmony and holding that harmony for as long as we can without resorting to preservatives, and then it fades away. So it's a magic moment, and then it's gone. So we're not really concerning ourselves with how it dries down and stuff. That's really more the progression of like, we were just trying to make, I guess the first 2 hours of the fragrance is the gist of it. It's like quite the core. That's the golden dream, the payoff, the prize and the farce. When you first spray it on, it's like this, oh my God, this like, I'm reminded of the power of life in nature and those currents that we sometimes forget about in our modern world. They're there, they affect us. We just have to open ourselves to them. And so this is a reminder of nothing else. It's the coordinates to get there, of course, but it's a reminder that they exist too, and it's a celebration of that. And they also, of course, because they're anti-inflammatory and they boost your immune system, they do confer slight healing effects, a little bit. I mean, go to your doctor. These are not going to cure you of disease, but in that direction. I want to say that in a mental space. The idea and the main thing I was really trying to go for when I was convalescing in my bed, it was that I wanted these perfumes to inspire raw hope that if you're like really feeling down in the dumps and you want to check out or give up, this is a reminder that you have that power in you to keep living and live forever if you want. So it's a wake up, and it's so freaking dark right now out there. Like every day.
Yeah, it can feel that way. Yeah.
Mamma mia, it's so bad. So I wanted these to just run counter to the current events of the day and how freaking heavy it is and stuff, and the wars and all this. And so if nothing else, you can spritz Forest of the Golden Dream on and just let it it's therapeutic in a sense, that calms your soul. It takes you to that special place. It's supposed to stop time. I want it to stop time. And then you just wear it all day. It's a daytime scent. It's not supposed to be necessarily for going out. Like the Potion Fatale is like your seduction, your, special occasion, going out, date scent, that kind of thing. This is daytime, feeling good, waking up in the morning, and I'm going to take a road trip by myself because why not? Get on the road, go. It's like, these are like live friggin' life, that's it. And they have the calming aspect of the ambient music we were talking about. I mean, that's really the harmonies. And by the way, the film, let's talk about the film since it is the eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yes, please.
The composer that I worked with is my close friend, Michael Zonarozny. He was in a band in the band is still around. They're called Crash Course in Science. It's electronic.
Oh, I know Crash Course in Science. I used to have it was a 12-inch, and also they had a 45 a 7-inch.
Right on. Yeah. Cardboard Lamb, Flying Turns, Kids Home. They did noise. Like they built their own synthesizers in the late 70s.
Yeah.
And they're an American band that was doing all synths, which is very strange and unheard of. Only like Ebo and Suicide were also kind of on that tip back in the late 70s in New York and Philly. They were from Philly. And so Michael was like my neighbor on the Lower East Side. And I was a fan of his work, and I didn't even know he like lived kind of like around the corner from me. And a mutual friend introduced us, and we've been hanging out since. And he's been scoring all of my films basically on his synthesizers from Crash Course in Science, these homemade synths,
Wow.
Yeah. So I asked him, we're both fanatics about electronic drones. Like we like them a lot. And so I was like, Michael, I was showing him some work from Harold Budd that I found to be very inspiring. And so he did the score for Ierofante on his synths. And then he did the score for Flowers of the Golden Dream on his synths. And by the way, he is the Ierofante in the film. He's the star too. The guy really? There, yeah. So he basically has, you got to see the film, but basically it's about the spaceman having an encounter with his like infinite self, and via Persephone, goddess of the underworld, and that's what it's about. So you'll see. But he scored it, and he plays it in real time. It's really cool.
That is really cool.
So I try to incorporate as much as possible all of my musician friends into my work, because what we're trying to do is just make art here. This isn't a commercial project. It's an artistic project. So if my artistic friends want to come in and flex their muscles, it's like, dude, do it. That's what this is about. Let's have some friggin' fun. Everyone's got to have a friggin', they're like, I got to get rich from doing this, or I got to get like 1 million followers. Like,
there goes all the soul.
To stir your emotions, to make a permanent thing, a monument that stands through time, that's going to inspire our children, our children's children, I hope,
Yeah. Can we just talk about the lighting that I have right now? It's sort of like I have the Golden Dream on me right now.
Exactly. Yeah,
this is called not being prepared for fall back, because now it gets really dark really early.
That's true.
Yeah, I love this glow. I have the glow of the flames, and
yeah, you look like you're in front of the fire.
Yeah, doesn't it look like I'm in front of my hearth right now?
Marshmallows.
It's going to be that season soon. Coldano. Oh man, Forest does sound good, and I've been wanting a Ierofante since I first heard of it. Have to find the EU distro.
Cole, just right now, just contact 7scents. They have both. You can get samples too. 7scents in Budapest. 7scents.hu has Flowers of the Golden Dream and Ierofante in stock. We just ship them. Right now, they're my main hub in Europe. Basically, I'm trying to, because they ship throughout Europe. And so until I get, more stores in individual countries, which is coming, or we start to just do our own e-commerce, which is also coming over there. Basically, that's the best bet. And I trust them. They're great. They're really good service. So, what's not to like? I'm sorry that it's an inconvenience. We used to ship, but, shipping perfume by air to the EU, it's getting a little dicey, and you're not supposed to do it, and it is flammable. So do I want to run the risk of incinerating an airplane? Maybe not, so let's do it the right way. Be above board. Yeah.
And also patience is a virtue. So when it's done the right day and the right day and the right way, just give it a couple of extra weeks. And before you know it, it will be at your door. I mean, there's some wonderful fragrances that are not distributed in the US, and sometimes they will opt to do something like a DHL. And it just takes a little bit more time to get to your doorstep, but it's worth the wait.
The other thing is, if you can get a bunch of people together that maybe want to do, like, each of you get a bottle, there's like 6 of you, we can just ship that way. We can figure it out, we can ship it hazmat, there's solutions, but we're open-minded for this kind of thing. If we can help out, we will. Obviously we want to get our perfumes out there as much as we can. So, and I think that's the website. We Are Sentient just posted.
We Are Sentient was kind enough to share the link.
appreciate that.
And just copy and paste that into your browser and check them out. I know I visit them. I saw the website very briefly when looking for another brand, but I want to explore it a little bit more.
And the guys that run the store, they speak fluent English. They ship anywhere. They're super nice. You can just DM them on Instagram. They're the best, really.
Yeah, one of them is Irish, so he's like, I mean, this is as English speaking as they get, basically, and that's I guess to the extent that Irish speak English, I probably would disagree with me.
As long as you can get through the brogue, I guess.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So yeah, I do think that for 2023, I will go full bottle with Forest of the Golden Dream. Will it make it in time for my top picks for 2023? Depends on how delayed my top picks for 2023 will be. I guess, of course, I can wait. I can just go with the sample in my video before I even get the bottle, because I do think that.
Or I can just get you one. I'll just send you one. We do have some promo ones. I mean, I appreciate you having me on your program. So
we'll chat about that. But I do think that it's definitely going to be a top pick for this year, and there have been some great fragrances that were released this year, so it would be amongst esteemed company. I'm excited to share my favorites for this year, but I'm waiting until the end of the year because you never know.
Yeah, I'm nervous too, because it's last year was tough, this year's tough also. It's been a crowded playing field of talented stuff, so
So can you tell us a little bit about, so this is going to be a part of a new series.
Yeah.
Would you be able to
let me talk about Entelechy and the origins.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. So I mentioned John C. Portman, one of my favorite American architects. He was the first to do all these like kind of mega futuristic hotels, like the Marriott Marquis in New York, which my home city, where I like to actually go and just hang out in that lobby, because it's like this. He does these really futuristic. You might have seen his work in the Hunger Games, actually. One of the hotels that he designed is in the Hunger Games, weirdly enough. It's the Marriott Marquis in, I want to say, Atlanta. Anyway, John Portman designed two like his own homes. He designed two of his like summer homes, and he lives there actually year round on the coast of Georgia, where he's from. There, each of the summer homes is called Entelechy. There's Entelechy 1 and Entelechy 2, and so the Entelechy 2 particularly, for me, in the interpretation, firstly, it looks like an 80s mall, so it's kind of weird in that sense, but it's so groundbreaking because he was the first to do like the kind of 80s mall look.
Yeah. So I'm thinking 80s
it's ironic that, it became
pastel
kind of
looks and the neon.
It's not even pastel and neon. It's like that white lattice work, very geometric and color.
That's almost like early 80s kind of.
Yeah. It is. It's early 80s. It's early 80s.
Right.
And the use of like fountains, and just look at images of Entelechy 2 and you'll see what I mean. Yeah. But the whole thing is, to clear as day, the space is all about taking stairways to heaven. Okay, there's a giant white plane that obviously signifies heaven. I'm crooked here, like so. And then the base of the house is just like these columns that go up to heaven, and these like stairways that go up, and everything's in white, and it looks like the ground floor looks like earth or like purgatory, and then there's heaven above. And so the idea is that you can kind of be in the air and in between the space. It's a temple to heaven, I suppose, but super modern contemporary architecture and kind of futuristic in a way. It looks like something out of Empire Strikes Back, it's cool in that way, that retro futurism. And so I was like, what is this word Entelechy? That was really caught my eye. So John Portman called his houses Entelechy 1 and Entelechy. Entelechy is a strange word. It's an Aristotelian word. It's a classical Greek philosophy that has to do with like finding your reason for being in the universe. And when you do, you get the momentum of the universe sort of powering your reason of being. It's kind of drilling down to your soul to find your true pathway, and being aware of that and making it happen and manifesting it. And so it's instant enlightenment in a certain sense. That's really what it's about. And so each of these perfumes is an aspect to getting on the road to entelechy and instant enlightenment. And so that's why I was saying, like, Forest of the Golden Dream is not so much about the dry down. It's about this vibe that we caught, we captured, we caught a comet, if you will, with our net. We're holding on to it, and now it's disintegrating, and there's only the ghostly glow left over, the memory of it. That's it. That's this perfume in a nutshell. So the next one will be like that. The next one, this one is an homage to the healing properties and via a pine forest or a luxuriant forest. The next one is the power of healing via the sun.
Ooh, so would we have like sort of this solar effect in the
you'll see.
And trying to get it out of
that is about healing and finding again entelechy through staying in bed all day.
Oh, I love that.
I
love days like that.
Funnily enough, our working title is Bed All Day, but it's probably not going to be the real name. It's just our nickname for it, because we don't know what we're going to call it yet. But that's the idea. It's just like, and it's just about, watching the day pass, watching that sun arc over while you're in bed and just healing, and just not doing anything, and that breathing the air, the breeze coming across you, and just, that freedom, and that, like, when you're a kid again, remember, like, 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and you just have that freedom of doing anything you want,
Yes, with Captain Kangaroo and News Review playing in the background.
Or whatever, your favorite cartoon was.
The Saturday morning cartoons.
So I think that John Portman was kind of saying, like, hey, with the idea of entelechy, look at my storied career. You find your way. You can be a famous architect like me, or whatever. That's kind of the douchey side of it, but it's more like, it's more this illuminated sort of majestic walk through life, staying on the golden pathway, or the, in the Wizard of Oz, follow the yellow brick road. It's really that, it's really that. It's that simple. And we just need a reminder or a slap. And so one thing I wanted to say about this too is that, oh gosh, hang on, it's slipping from me. Let me try to explain. It's a little bit abstract, but you know what? It's fading. Dang it. I get these ideas, they come and go, that help me to explain it, and then I forget what I'm going to say. So let that one go. It might come back to me. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I relate to that. My brain does that sometimes.
I was going to say, oh Christ. I can't remember. It's going to come back to me, I'm sure. I was going to make a point and it's gone. So sometimes it happens, but
it's such a brilliant concept, and that it comes from, Aristotelian logic, and that, because that's kind of how I studied the term a million years ago in graduate school. But to see it,
okay.
I was going to ask, like, how much you must read just constantly, right? Or just be so involved. And I love the fact that some perfumers, or some even artistic directors, they just are so focused on perfume, they just stay in perfume, but you just are everywhere, right?
Well, I think that the perfume is just the beginning. It's the pathway to the rest of the universe. That's it, that you're creating, that you've created already. So I learned all this from a really interesting designer who's a good friend of mine, fashion designer based in Paris, actually. I'm not sure where he is now. His name is Bernard Wilhelm. He's a genius German fashion designer, a close friend of mine for the last 20 years. Every one of his collections and his shows particularly were just mind-blowing. Like he was so ballsy with what he would present. And anyway, for example, one runway show was just, the music was a news broadcast. That's it. An announcer just reading the news. I mean, it's really fascinating stuff. So he kind of flips things on their head. But anyway, he's an intellectual designer. He went to the Royal Academy in Belgium, which is the most intellectual fashion school that graduated some really superstars of intellectual fashion. And fashion is not just, by the way, like frou-frou bullshit douchebaggery. It's definitely legitimate artistic sides if you look at the work of like Hussein Chalayan and Comme des Garçons and so on and so forth. So someone is, hang on a second, someone's at my front door. Oh, I saw
a human being out there.
Yeah, I just like, my wife, she just went to the post office. She's coming back, so I was like, who the heck's on my deck? Hold up a second. Yeah, okay, all is okay. Wait, what were we talking about before we were yeah.
Well,
so,
you were at the douchebaggy kind of fashion versus legit. Yeah.
Yes. Bernard Wilhelm and I need more coffee. That's the thing. I'm like running out of my caffeine, Joel.
I just finished that cup that I was showing you.
Oh yeah. Bernard Wilhelm, and also what they teach at the Royal Academy is that you create a universe first, and then the fashion collection and the show are just peaks of that. And so I learned to design my perfumes in the same way. I create the universe first, and I think about it, and I dwell on that universe for years, because nowadays I take all my perfumes, I take my time. I don't ever make a deadline. It's done when it's done, period. Because why rush against the clock? You always get better ideas after the deadline. And I was like, well, it's so stupid to respect the deadline. Don't have a deadline. When it's done, and then put it out. And so that's how we've always done actually SIXSCENTS was, we had to respect deadlines, but Quartana, I take my time. It's my show. And so, yeah, these, they're done when they're done. And, God, I'm losing my points. They keep fading away from me. What were we just talking about? I wanted to make.
Oh, so you're not just narrowly in perfume, that you're.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, these all, we create the universe first. And the film is really the best glimpse into the universe that we're showing. We're peaking with the perfume. The perfume is just the conjuring, I guess, and I guess that's what I wanted to say. I was trying to get at is that basically there's sort of like evocations in a sense. Like Ierofante was an evocation of like your highest being, bringing it down into yourself. This one is like an evocation into like healing natural energy that we all have and that we just lose sight of or forget about in this modern world, or, maybe by design, we're supposed to forget about it, but we get back in touch via these formulae, I hope. And then, like I said, to inspire hope if you're in a dark place, which I know, the pandemic was a real screwed up everyone's heads, and it was tough I lost some friends to suicide of all things, that was messed up. Yeah. So some people just couldn't take it, and the idea of, and so, and also I lost friends over the years to, especially me living in New York. I'm sure this is the case everywhere now, but like heroin use, people dying from heroin.
Oh my God, I know.
Left and right. And so I have a count, like a running count of like 30 people that have died, that I've known over the years. And so rather than losing yourself in that dark place, which I realize is just a way of getting into the light, I hope that the perfumes instead can kind of be an approximation of that. And because they are, once you find that light inside, you don't need a drug to reaccess it. You have it in your mind. It's just a matter of, And so, now I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, good.
Hallelujah. So what I was talking, with the Ierofante and with the Greek classical stuff, you were talking about, I read all the time. It's not so much that I took a deep dive into like classical, the classics, because I just think there's like permanent truth in there. And it's a wonderful place to mine. Well, when you're in your late 40s, it's like, that's what I like to casually read, these days. And so what I realized is that, and during the course of the research for Ierofante and the Hierophant, was that, these Hierophants, basically, they held the secrets of the universe. What the fuck is the secrets of the universe? What did that even mean? They had formulae that of perfumes that were only they could access. These perfumes for them were ways of connecting with the gods. That's it. Okay. And only the priests or priestesses were allowed. I mean, perfume means for smoke ritual.
Yeah. It was
so we're going back to the original usage of perfumes, which are basically to kiss a god. That's it. And so that's why with Forest of the Golden Dream, the idea is that it's a magical ball that we're holding on to. And that vibration, that healing vibration, that gold and the infinite golden glow, and then it fades away, just like the Hierophant in the Telestarion. That was the temple where they initiated the people into the cult of Persephone, the initiates into the cult of Persephone in ancient Greece. The Hierophants would share the secrets of the universe with the students. We don't know what these secrets were, but what we do know, and Ierofante, by the way, is playing with the imagining what these secrets of the universe are, because we don't know. The academic scholars don't know, but we do know this. We know that psychedelics were involved. We know that for 5 days, basically these students were trapped in this temple, and they were not allowed to sleep, so they were like getting sensory deprived, more hallucinations. And then the Hierophant, the teachers, the priests, would actually do sort of song and dance, allegorical stories to convey these secrets of the universe. We don't know what they are. The other thing we know is that the students would come out of these festivities initiated, not ever fearing death. And also, if they spoke about it, they would be assassinated. So the secrets were held for all time. I mean, for all we know, they still exist today. We don't know. And I am not going to go into any kind of conspiratorial anything. That's for the waste bin.
We can keep that for our backstage conversation.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I want to attempt something very,
sorry, go on. Yeah.
No, I want to attempt something very quickly that I have that is unprecedented. I wanted to see if it works. There is a feature through StreamYard that enables me to share a screen. What I'm going to attempt is to share the video for Forest of the Golden Dream.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, we can just carry on. We'll see if this feature.
The other thing I can do, I can literally like play it on my cell phone and just kind of broadcast it. If need be, let's see. So janky Gen X solution.
Select a window or a screen. I'm doing this the first time. Even as we speak, I'm learning how to do this. Allow StreamYard.com to see your screen. Select window or screen. I think that maybe entire screen. So I can, okay. And then I'll move over to, let's see. Just bear with us, folks. I am going to see. I will mute website notifications. You never know what might pop up. I know that some people have had some unfortunate luck with that. Oh, look at that. We're sharing ourselves. Hi.
Let's look at that. It's like,
look at that. And and unfortunately it looks like I'm just sharing so I don't know if this is going to work.
Because full screen it. I think if you go onto the YouTube window and then hit play, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. So this is so meta. It's like we're watching.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think that's what I had intended. All right, I'm going to stop screen for a second, and we'll try it one more time. But I don't want to take up too much more because we have about 10 minutes here. Share screen. Share screen.
And while JJ is doing that, folks, if you all have any questions for Joseph,
please, of course.
Yes.
And then we can
happy to
see if we can get
ask anything.
All right, so that's entire screen. With this particular feature, it looks like I'm just sharing an image. It's not the video. I don't know if I mean, I do have a premium subscription. Hi. It's just gonna share
everyone here's the link. I just sent the chat, so
okay,
the private chat.
So in presentation I have slides, extra camera, video film. Yeah, so I mean, if you want to, we could just have you show it. We can do it that way.
Why don't we just show it on here? Why not?
And then I'll just have to do a little bit of research for future live streams. But we do also have a question as well from We Are Sentient. Is there a scent you want to showcase that you haven't done yet?
Wait, is there a scent you want to showcase that you
haven't done yet? Maybe an idea, or we talked a little bit. He might have stepped away when you were talking about the forthcoming releases after.
I have 2 more healing ones coming. 2 more part of Le Potion.
Yeah, We Are Sentient
inspired by solar healing, and one is inspired by bed healing besides forest healing. So and then there's like 2 other ones that might happen if we can finish them. We'll see. But here I have here is Forest of the Golden Dream on my cell phone. Let's see if I can.
Oh, this will work. Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah, I'm going to line it up.
I'm going, and I'll also zoom in so we have a full screen.
Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. Try to center it. It's a little strange.
Oh, isn't that funny? I was just talking about that. There is the pine straw. Those are the needles.
Yeah, the loam, the forest loam.
Loam, yeah.
And the golden soul that exists in the forest, you know, she'd find it. You can hear the music is Michael's synth composition.
Yes. Of Crash Course in Science.
Yeah. Here's a little easier. I'll turn it up. So we shot this actually in a Christmas tree farm in Warwick to give the sense of like infinite pines.
Yeah. I have the blotter to my nose even as we speak.
Joseph, did your wife make the costume?
Well, she styled it. It's actually her mentor's work. This design team called 3 as 4. They're based in New York. It's Gabriel as 4, who's her like I said, her longtime mentor since the 90s. Provided the costumes.
It's beautiful.
They've been on this Kabbalic tip, but yeah, look them up. They're really fantastic.
Look at those young trees.
Yeah, shooting in the the Christmas tree farm was really interesting. It was so beautiful. Sorry, I'm trying to like center this thing.
No, you're doing a great job. You're doing better than what I would do.
And by the way, it's one actress playing all 3 parts.
Oh yeah.
Did you have to get the bottle to glow in post-production, or is there like
no, everything's analog. We don't do any special effects. Everything's for real. That's the one thing we like sweat about, is that we do like old school effects. So
yeah.
I don't like any CGI. I think it kills the spirit of it. And so we do like real puppets and whatever else, you know, like
love it.
Yeah, real props, like buy everything, and you know, we shoot on location when we can, and so
that's amazing.
I think it translates better, you know. So that's sort of the long and short of it. Yeah.
Very nice. And of course, folks can that's readily available on YouTube and through your site, and
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can watch the other films as well. Very nice.
Yeah. So,
and definitely check out the films about the poison line. They're amazing.
Yeah.
We have I think 4 of them, you know, and Rob did one of them, so that was cool.
We Are Sentient asks, do you know the artist Shayna Moulton?
I don't, but I will definitely look her up if you say so. Let me write that down.
Oh,
two homeworks today besides that.
I'm gonna get my little my sticky pad.
Shayna Moulton, right.
Don't forget Mother Mallard's Masterpiece Company.
Yeah, oh, exactly. That's my other homework.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about all the same.
And if We Are Sentient wants to kind of give a brief synopsis on her and why she might appeal. But regardless, even if you don't want to, we can just, you know, Google is our friend and we can look her up.
Do you have a personal favorite of any of your fragrances that you personally like to wear, or are you at the point where you don't wear perfume because you're always working on
something? No, I always wear perfumes. I mostly wear my own, but it's more it's not because I'm like, I love my own brand. It's not that. It's more that like I just want to test drive them to make sure that they're wearing well and not breaking down, since I'm selling those oils at the time. But you know, I always like discover things about my own stuff too while I'm wearing it, and so it's very useful to kind of dwell. And they put me into certain mood sets, you know. And you know, truth be told, you know, not all of my perfumes smell nice on me, and they shouldn't. That's not the case. I don't design for me.
Yeah.
And if you're like a perfumer designing just for you, you're a psychopath and probably should get out of the industry.
Yeah.
Like, I design for others. And
well, you'd be surprised, Joseph. There are some perfumers out there who are doing it just for themselves.
Oh, I know.
they want to share their works with others, but it's all about themselves.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a problem in the age of the douchebag we've been living in. Unfortunately, the last 12 years, but a little
things got a little strange.
Yeah, we went off script. Yeah, so got to get back on script.
Just a bit. Oh, We Are Sentient shared the website for Sheena Moulton, www.sheenamoulton.info. Great.
I will say, I wear, to answer your question though, I've been wearing Forest of the Golden Dream. I actually really like the next one, the solar one of Healing is actually one of my favorites I've ever done. But I really liked Wolfsbane when we finished it. That blew me away. And I was like, this is a hit. I mean, I knew it when we finally got it. And I remember I wore it to this rooftop rave in New York. There's this nightclub called Output a few years back. And so I saw a guy named Jimmy Egger DJ there. He's this techno dude. He was doing techno, not anymore. And I wore it. And I remember just getting nonstop compliments. Like people were just like, what are you wearing? What is that? It was just people stopping me. And I was like, it's coming out.
So Joseph, I noticed in the private chat there's a YouTube link. That will be the link to the video that we watched.
Yes, exactly.
I'll share that with everyone in here. So I put that into the.
I should have labeled it. Forgive me. I just.
No, don't worry about it. I put it into the public chat so folks have a link to it. This is great. This has been a great discussion.
Thanks.
Stick around.
Opaque.
No, stick around with us for a little bit. There's something called backstage. It's just we sit put, but we're no longer live, and we'll chat for a little bit more after after we're off the air. We have just about 3 minutes left, so I'm going to kind of start the outro here. So just I wish that I always say this, like I wish I had somebody else at the controls to do this for me. But let's start with the outro music. This is our theme, the lovely theme. Yes. Wait. Yes, very lovely. Yes, that's the feeling that I want to get from everyone. I know Rachel's a huge fan of it too.
That's
all
awesome.
Right. Yeah. This is actually the description of the track is on the video. It's Veloci number 2. It's Max Heidegger and some other gentleman. I always forget the name. It's a great album from the 70s, but it's in the description if you're interested in hearing the whole album. But this is the unofficial theme song of Effluvium. So that wraps things up for this episode, but I just wanted to let folks know that in 2 weeks we will have Chester Gibbs. Chester Gibbs. Once again, not knowing the correct pronunciation, you probably have to brief with him beforehand to make sure I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. Wonderful gentleman, works in the perfume industry. He does perfume composition and has done collaborations. He's going to be doing he's going to be joining us for a great conversation in 2 weeks. And like I was mentioning earlier, next week we're going to be having a second in the series of materials live streams, and that will be with a focus on leather. So that includes all natural materials, including things such as birch tar, cade, Styrax, another favorite of ours. I know it's a favorite of Joseph's.
Yeah.
And also all the aromachems that can, or bases that come into play, isobutylquinoline, etc. We're going to do that next week. Just stay tuned. I have not set the time or the date, but I'll be letting folks know very shortly. But yeah, so just check that out. That's going to be coming up. And in the meantime, I hope everybody remains in good spirits and good health. And we will see you all soon. Say goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye. And ending stream. And